What's up, folks? This is Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. And today, I'm going to talk a little bit about a game I love. This game is called Worlds Without Number. It's written by Kevin Crawford of Sine, Nominee Press. And I think that this game is an ideal gateway game to get folks that are used to a more modern system like 5e to come over and try out an OSR system. And today, I'm going to give you my 10 reasons why Worlds Without Number is the best gateway game for your group to get into the OSR. Let's get into it.
What is all of this?
It's called Mazes and Mutants. We found it in the trash up top.
I cannot understand why you play a fantasy game.
Everyone's favorite elf wants to attack goblins too!
So first things first, what is Worlds Without Number? Worlds Without Number is an OSR game that builds on a BX shell, takes a few components from Traveler, and then also adds some concepts that are going to be familiar with for players that come from a more modern system like 5e. So it retains a lot of the quickness in execution and the simplicity in play that you would find in a BX game, but it gives you some of the more modern conveniences that you would find in a game like 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Now this book is available for print on demand through DriveThruRPG. You can also get the PDF copy of the deluxe version for $20 on DriveThruRPG, or you can get the regular version for free on DriveThruRPG. That's right, free. Everything that you can do with this game can be done easily with the regular free version, and that is just one of the many great aspects of Kevin Crawford as a game designer. He almost always puts out a free version of his games. So now I'm going to get into the individual aspects of the game that I think make it the perfect gateway game for your group. Okay, first things first. So most OSR games are not going to have a dedicated skill system, and they are not going to have anything that would be equivalent to feats. So that is one way that Worlds Without Number differentiates itself from other OSR games. It has both. The skill system is a very simple, add your skill rating and your relevant characteristic attribute bonus, and then you roll 2d6 and you try to hit a target number. That's pretty self-explanatory. The focus system is what would be considered equivalent to feats, but the foci are generally going to be more potent than a feat would be in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. It's going to be more character defining. As a matter of fact, your choice of foci actually have a greater degree of definition of your character concept than what your actual class does. I would actually more compare the level of impact on your character creation the foci have here to choosing a focus in cipher system, for example. That being said, if you've got players that are used to Dungeons & Dragons, they're going to love the focus system because it gives them a lot of the same choices, just with greater degrees of impact. Also, another great aspect of the focus system is that there are generally going to be 2 levels of each focus, so you can place 2 different choices into that same focus to get an even greater effect. And that is why I think the options in Worlds Without Number make it a great gateway. Number 2, I believe that Worlds Without Number really straddles the line well between the nigh invincibility found in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons to the fragility found in most BX and BX clones. So typically in a BX based game, if you hit 0 hit points, you are dead. Well, that's not the case here. whenever you hit 0 hit points, unless it was by a very powerful attack, generally you are just going to be mortally wounded. Once someone makes a heal check or uses a healing power on you, then you are going to be brought back up to 1 hit point, and at which point you will have the condition frail, which will stay until you've had adequate rest or you've received magical healing. Now, as long as you are frail, if you get reduced to 0 hit points again, you are dead. So unless you have a mage that has specialized in magical healing, that's going to be a very real threat to you. So there is also a nice set of rails that keep this from getting out of hand in the form of system strain. Basically, you can only be healed as many times as you have system strain, which is equal to your constitution score. So every time you receive that magical healing, it's going to give you a point of system strain. You get those back at a rate of 1 per night of good rest. So it prevents you from being able to heal after every combat, and there's always the good possibility that a character could die without the ever-present danger that it's going to happen in the next encounter unless you are reckless. So that is why I believe that the survivability in Worlds Without Number makes it a great gateway. And number 3, the familiar terms. Because this is built on a BX shell, a lot of the terms that you're going to hear in this game are going to be immediately familiar to anybody that has played Dungeons & Dragons in any format before. You're going to use the same 6 attributes. You're going to have hit points. You're going to have an armor class. You're going to have classes. You're going to have skills. So all of these things are going to be immediately familiar to the players. The character sheet is going to actually look pretty familiar. It's set up a little bit differently than what they're used to, but they're going to know pretty early on how to utilize it, and they're going to be very comfortable with the jargon used in this game. That's very important because if you switch to a completely different system like a Cypher system or even a Call of Cthulhu, a lot of times the differences in the terminology can be a hurdle to overcome. That's not going to be the case with Worlds Without Number, so that is why I believe the familiar terms make this a great gateway game. And now we're to my number 4 reason. So that is going to be the on-the-fly conversion of content. Stat blocks in Worlds Without Number are extremely simple. You've got the hit dice, the AC, the attack bonus, and the number of attacks, the damage they do with those attacks. If it has a shock value, which is a great feature of the game, which I will get into a little bit later, the movement, the morale, the instinct, what they get to a bonus on their skills, and their single saving throw. So that is a complete stat block for a creature or an enemy in Worlds Without Number. Because of that, you can create enemies very easily on the fly. You don't have to give a ton of detail while you're doing it. You can add a little flair with some special abilities, but overall, the stat block is going to be quite simple, and you will easily be able to tell with a little bit of experience just what kind of a challenge is going to be capable of a total party kill and which ones that your players may or may not have a chance to survive. But that being said, balance is not necessarily a good thing in Worlds Without Number. Like most OSR games, the players need to make wise decisions and figure out when they have a chance to win a fight, and they need to figure out that sometimes it is best to run. So with that said, the system also, because of the easy stat blocks, makes it easy to convert adventures from other systems such as Pathfinder, D&D 5e, or you can actually use verbatim older editions of D&D like AD&D or basic adventures. You can run them straight out of the book. With the newer systems, you're going to probably need to create the enemies on the fly, or you can do that ahead of time, but it's going to be quite simple to do so. So because of the simple stat blocks and the easy conversion, that is my number 4 reason why Worlds Without Number is a great gateway game. And that brings us to my number 5 reason. and that is the GM toolset that comes within this game. So the GM toolset in Worlds Without Number is incomparable to anything out there. The closest thing would be the other Kevin Crawford books, but I actually like the GM toolset in this better than I do even his other works. So Worlds Without Number comes with tables to do one-drop rolls to create the kind of the backstory of your enemies. You can create interesting encounter challenges, things that make this encounter different than others would be with the same enemies potentially. You can create rooms, you can create different wilderness encounters with this. There's just a limitless number of possibilities with all of the different GM tools that are found in these pages. Now this serves two different purposes, because if you are running something and your players zig when you thought they were going to zag and you don't have anything prepared, it's quite simple to use these tools on the fly once you're familiar with them to create content right then and there, and they probably won't even realize that that's what you're doing. The other thing is, when you're planning out a session and you get a little bit of writer's block, you can use these tables to add some diversity and some randomness to what you're doing, and it might actually even spark more imagination whenever you do so. It might make you think, oh wow, well, because the motivation for this monster was food, maybe that is why it's been attacking the village. Maybe it's actually not just strictly evil, maybe it was just trying to find something to eat, so on and so forth. It makes you think about the game differently, and it really makes you think about the world as a living, breathing entity rather than just a series of encounters strung together with a weak plot line. And that is why the number 5 reason that I have for Worlds Without Number being a great gateway game. And that brings us to my number 6 reason that Worlds Without Number is a great gateway game. It is free. That's right. All of the content that I have talked about today so far is completely free. Now, you can get a deluxe copy of the PDF, which adds something like 40 to 60 pages, I can't remember exactly how much, which adds some additional class options and some world building materials. But all the GM tools, all of the system, the core, the monsters, all that is in the regular book that is free. You'll notice that when I started this video, I was using my Kickstarter version of the hardback copy of the rules, but whenever I started going into my individual reasons, I actually switched to this printed copy that I have sleeved up because it lays flat and it's a lot easier to keep in camera without having to fight the book while I am controlling the camera. This is also handy at the table. If you print a copy for yourself, you can put it in a binder just like I have, and you have a nice lay flat copy of the rules. Now, I am a book lover and I love Dead Tree books, so I had to have the hardback copy, and thank you to the moderator at RPG Geek that was willing to sell me his copy. I very much appreciate it. I'm not going to say his name because he didn't give me permission to do that. I didn't ask him, but I don't have his permission, so I'm not going to share that name, but just know I appreciate that you sold that to me. It was an awesome move. But getting back to this, you can print this off just for the cost of ink and paper and have a copy like this of your own. This is a fantastic game. This is a AAA title, and Kevin Crawford made it free. This is an awesome, awesome opportunity. If you have anybody that says playing RPGs is too expensive, this is your answer to them. Also, this is nice for the DMs because I don't know if you're like me, but I like to buy multiple copies of my books so that I can have a player copy at the table and I can have a copy for myself. In this case, your players can download this for free. You don't have to feel like you're putting them out and making them use their resources on a book for a game that you want to run. They can have a copy for free. This is a fantastic reason And that is why this is my number 6 reason that Worlds Without Number is a great gateway game. So this is strictly for the game masters out there, but how many of you have ever gotten the itch to play a sci-fi game or a cyberpunk game, but you couldn't get your group to try to grok a new system for a genre they haven't tried before, and maybe they wouldn't like it? Well, this is your opportunity, because Worlds Without Number is based on the same system that was used in Stars Without Number. And it's also the same system that is going to be used in Cities Without Number. Kevin Crawford, if you're watching this video, which I doubt you are, but I can always hope, I'm hoping for a Cattle Without Number, because I would love this for an Old West style game. But that being said, this is a great opportunity to introduce your players to a system that then you can parlay into getting them to play that one shot of a sci-fi game using Stars Without Number, which, again, like Worlds Without Number, is available in a free PDF copy. And that is why my number 7 reason for Worlds Without Number being a great gateway game is that it is easily converted to other genres. And that brings me to my number 8 reason why Worlds Without Number is a great gateway game. That is because with this system, you can play the classics as they are written without any need to prep beforehand. You can play them right out of the book because this is based on a BX shell. The characters are going to be a little bit more powerful than those original BX characters, and they're going to have some more options. So the adventures will run a little bit easier, but then again, those adventures were often planned for 6 to 8 characters with hirelings, and how many of us have game groups that big anymore? So it should balance out nicely. So I can easily run Keep on the Borderlands, the Isle of Dread, or any of my other favorites from decades past using the Worlds Without Number system. And it's a great way for me to show my younger players what I grew to love about the game of D&D without them having to take the plunge to play an antiquated rules set. They really are, but they just don't know it. It's just like having medicine that tastes good. This is what the young pups need to play the games that are good for them. And that is why, that is my number 8 reason Worlds Without Number is a great gateway game. And that brings me to my number 9 reason. And that is that this has a fantastic domain level play option. While the characters will only go from levels 1 to 10 in this game, there are options for high level play through attaining a domain. There are very nice rules for faction play between major organizations or governments. And there are also great rules for building structures and maintaining regions of a kingdom. So similar to the way it was done in BX, but with a much cleaner presentation and more options. The domain play in Worlds Without Number is a fantastic thing to behold. I have never played the Adventure Conqueror King system, and I've heard that it is great, so I can't really compare to that. But as far as the systems that I have played, Worlds Without Number has the best working domain play system. And that is why it is my number 9 reason that Worlds Without Number is a great gateway game. And here we are. We're to the number 10 reason that I believe Worlds Without Number is a great gateway game. And that is that it is a complete system. You don't need any other expansions. You don't need any splat books. With the 3 classes, 4 if you can include their multi-class system, which is called the Adventurer class, combined with the foci and the different skill sets, you can create any character concept you need. The stat blocks are simple enough that if it doesn't exist in the book, you can easily create it. The campaign world included with the game is robust and interesting, and they give you enough tools that you can make your own if you don't like it. This book, this free book, is truly a complete RPG all in itself. I would encourage you, now that I've mentioned that this is free several times through this video, I would encourage you to go ahead and pay the $20 if you can afford it to get the deluxe copy. It doesn't add a lot. It adds a few classes and a few bits and bobs to the game. But it also supports Kevin Crawford, and it's going to help him to be compensated for the great things he's done for the gaming community and the great things he continues to do. That being said, at the time of the recording of this video, his latest project, Cities Without Number, which is a cyberpunk take on the Without Number series, is up on Kickstarter. For $40, I believe, you get the deluxe copy of the PDF, and you might even get a code for a print-on-demand discount with that as well. I can't remember exactly, because at $80 you actually get the PDF and you get the hardbound Smith-sewn book for Cities Without Number. Kevin has done several of these Kickstarters. They've all been successful, and they've all, I believe, all delivered on time. So, if you have the means, if you're interested in Cyberpunk or Shadowrun, and you want to be able to get your game group into that kind of a campaign, get in on the Cities Without Number Kickstarter before it's over. I think it runs through the end of February 2023. So get in on that and get yourself a copy. Support Sine Nominee Press, support Kevin Crawford, and support open gaming. So until next time, this has been Justin with Books, Bricks, and Boards. Good gaming, and God bless.